The power you seek is in that dark room you are afraid of entering. The concept of darkness is one I find very interesting. On one side, it represents a scary field of energy or lack of energy, where you have been rid of the faculty of seeing. On the other side, you see an array of distraction-free spaces. It is you and you alone in that darkness. Even if there are 100 people in a dark room, it doesn't matter. Because you can't see each other, you can't help each other. It is the equivalent of no one being there. At that stage, all you have is you and your mind. The power of darkness, in some sense, shows the ability to allow someone to conquer fear. Most people have a fear of darkness. Once you move on from it, it is more like a sense of accomplishment, gaining control over yourself. But to do that, you have to make yourself uncomfortable in the first place. The concept of darkness being free from distraction is an interesting one. It allows you to be alone no matter how many people you happen to be with. Now you have an environment where everyone cares about themselves, and in some sense, that shows the concept of life too, without the many variables that seem to complicate it. Because here is the truth. Life is a selfish game and we are scared individuals. Once you no longer have the ability to think for yourself, you have forgone the ability to be a leader. You are now a follower, and that in of itself is a dangerous thing because you have no idea where you may or may not be going now. All you know is that you are going somewhere. But what makes it worse is that you are entirely responsible for that too. When there is constant stimulus, there is regular programming. As soon as you shut down the lights and there exists no stimulus, you cannot think for yourself. This goes metaphorically and literally simultaneously. Some people genuinely are afraid of taking a walk into their minds. But what I am trying to say is that you have to. It is simply essential. The difference between silence and noise is this. Silence is necessary and noise is artificial. I don't mean to say all noise is artificial. I mean to point the finger at things we allow in our lives that create more noise, so to say. Be it songs, parties, dramas, or things like that. Nowadays, we are exposed to constant stimulus every hour of every day, and what that does is give us a way to constant programming. We are made to think a certain way and act a certain way, and this is all supposed to be fundamentally and centrally controlled and intentional. It is scary, but that is the truth. We now live in an attention economy, and things that get more clicks are taken to be objective truths. But sadly, that is not the right way. Humanity as a whole is on a tangent from the right way, so to speak. And what is fundamental in this wrong combination of steps we are taking as a whole is us lacking the ability to think for ourselves. We are very much dependent on the next person, who is dependent very much on the next person, and so on and so forth. In my experience, the first step to thinking for oneself is to define oneself. What do you stand for? What does your name represent of you? And what are the basic things you stand for? You, yourself free from biases. If you had to stand in front of a person in a hypothetical judgment-free zone and talk about what you stand for, what would that be? And you don't need to put this on your WhatsApp or Facebook bio, you just have to come to terms with it on your own. The first step has to be defining boundaries. Now, the problem with the elites with this type of thinking is that it makes it much more unpredictable, but more than that, uncontrollable. So what they do is they give you so much stimulus to go on that you don't want to be alone by yourself. You must have a phone and scroll through reels or shorts and whatnot. That has become a necessity. Now you may have friends who don't agree with your values, and that is perfectly fine. But you have to be open to a civil discussion about it. That is the bare minimum you just ask for, because that can lead to mutual benefit as well as, and more importantly, mutual survival. Constructive and meaningful conversations are really lacking in the world nowadays, and the reason is simple. No one wants to explore themselves and what they stand for. It is all connected and makes sense when you look at it from that perspective. If you have people who are looking for a moral belief code, you are looking for a religious society, and that is fundamentally unacceptable for the elites. The reason is, the more you rely on God, the less you rely on mankind. So they program a civilization into not believing in God. If the current trajectory rolls down the way it is in 10 years, we are going to have many more atheists than there are now. And there is a reason atheists are more depressed and feel low than non-atheists. It is because they don't believe in a spiritual connection. That connection is divine and gives you more satisfaction than anything in the world can give you. Being materialistic is fun to a point, but then you start looking for answers and basically God himself, because that is the ultimate answer. The moral compass is something very special. It defines you, it gives you right and wrong, what you stand with and what you don't agree with. Now what religion does is it hands you the moral compass on a plate. You just have to defend it with your life. What society does with this moral compass is, it changes it according to the state of the society itself. So it is no longer objective and thus no longer the truth. Religion does not change, and it will not change. That is scary for the elites, and why wouldn't it be? The reason non-religious rich people are depressed is that they don't believe in God. Materialistic things cannot satisfy you, because you were born with a connection to God, and the more you suppress it, the more you become depressed. So until you have that, no matter how much money you accumulate, you are not successful. The riches of this world alone cannot satisfy you. Otherwise, why would you have depressed billionaires? If you believe in God and have a connection with Him, you chase Him. If not, you chase something else. The problem for non-religious people is they are chasing something temporary, and once they reach it, their journey ends. Then they must run after another temporary thing. When none gives them satisfaction and they have spent their whole life running after it, they are the most devastated people on the planet, because no matter how rich they come to terms with the fact that they have wasted their lives. So everyone holds something to the God level, the level above all, their ultimate goal. Be it sex, money, fame, attention, desires as a whole, or maybe God Himself. It is in our nature, it is how we are programmed. So if you have something temporary and fundamentally meaningless at the top, you have a serious problem. Don't let yourself take anyone as God rather than God Himself. You will end up in a miserable state one day, trust me. Blessed are the people who believe in God, and blessed would they remain if they put all their trust in Him. The modern world wants you to forget the real God and take your desires as your God so they can fulfill them with your money. The evils of the world are real and there for all to see. About time we wake up and face them.